I'm going to have a baby. Right now.
It's the return to tradition.
Welcome home, my son.
It's the return to the great outdoors.
Summer camp.
Our Amanda's already skipped 2 grades. How about your boy?
Probation.
It's the return of family values.
You still desire me, the old ball and chain?
Forever.
I'll get them.
ADDAMS Family Values.
What? I didn't say anything. That's the baby's nickname.
What?
Rated PG-13. Starts Friday, November 19th at theaters everywhere.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Cinema Arcade. This is the podcast about movies, video games, and the sparks that fly when those two worlds collide. My name is Steve Guntley and today we are finishing up our mini-series on the live-action Addams Family movies. Today talking about Addams Family Values. Let me check my notes here. This is the best movie ever made? Yeah, according to my notes, it is the best movie ever made. So that's exciting for us.
I think we need to verify the validity of these notes.
No, it's on Snopes. Yeah, they ran that through. It looks good. Looks good. Yes, like I said, my name is Steve Guntley. Who is joining me today? Nobody.
Fine, it's me, Justin, this time for number 2.
Literally everybody was mid-yawn when I asked that. I timed that in the exact wrong moment.
Late night recording. I'm J-Ban.
Welcome, J-Ban. And we have a special guest with us here today. We're very excited. Joining us,
His name's Steve?
He is. Yeah, he's a great guy. He's got these awesome glasses and stuff. Everyone thinks he's super buff. No, that's not true.
Wait, hold on.
Wait, are we still talking about you or me?
Oh, no, we're back. We're back onto you now. We're back onto you
and
now.
buff is me, right?
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. Yeah, we get those confused all the time. Hayato DeSouza's here. Welcome.
Hello.
How are you?
Hold on.
I'm doing great.
Oh, excited to have you.
Yeah, I'm excited. This is my podcast debut.
Oh, really?
Make sure that we maintain our all glasses.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. So now we're all glasses around the table. That's that makes me feel a little safer, actually, finally.
For those listening, I take them off sometimes, even though I can't see literally anything without them.
That's scary that you're driving around. But,
I wear them when I drive. I take them off
good.
when I'm here.
Well, we're excited to have Hayato. Now, we had reached out and asked if you wanted to guest on some episodes, and you kind of marked down some ones you were interested in. But Addams Family Values was the one where you claimed that you would, I'm quoting you here, your feelings would be directly hurt if we did not have you on for this one. Why did you feel so strongly about Addams Family Values?
This is correct. I think Addams Family's always been like a really cool movie, and I think a very concept that I really like. But this movie specifically is just wild in how gay it is. And like
It's very gay, yeah.
It's so like gay on its surface, but then like subversively gay, and like it is just it was so formative in like much of my like comedy style or maybe like story style. And I just wanted to be a very queer voice talking about it.
And I mean, we're excited for that because the screenwriter here is a guy named Paul Rudnick, who was kind of like the preeminent writer of queer comedies in the 90s. Like he did Addams Family Values, he did In and Out, a couple other, I forget what else he did. He had a couple of other movies that were like big sort of mainstream Sister Act, Stepford Wives, things like that. Oh, he wrote Marcy X. Jesus, that's a terrible movie. Yeah, but he's written some good movies too, including, I would argue, Addams Family Values. We talked a little bit about the first. Well, we talked a lot about the first movie last week. We dedicated a whole episode to it, basically.
Shocking.
But the initial critical response to that first movie was kind of mixed, but it was a huge box office success. And Addams Family Values is kind of the flip of that. It was a huge critical success, but it actually really underwhelmed at the box office to the point where they kind of decided to discontinue the series. I mean, that and, of course, the unfortunate passing of Raul Julia with, I think, 8 months after this movie finished shooting. So a huge loss for sure. Like, I would have loved seeing him play Gomez forever, but unfortunately that did not happen. Yeah, but I think this one made... 46 million at the box office, where the first one made 190 or something.
They
like
made
that.
111 million.
That's internationally. Yeah. It did better overseas than it did here. But yeah, for some reason, this only came out 2 years later, and I feel like this is a really good example of what a big screen sequel should do. Like, this is a really good way of taking the things that you liked about the first movie, trimming away the fat, and then just kind of amplifying everything in a way that I feel like they really found their comedic voice here. And Sonnenfeld is much more confident behind the camera. Like, this is just a wildly fun movie, and I think it kind of distills the best of this series. End of podcast.
You looked at me and I was like, "Oh, you have to say words."
I just think it's so interesting when you get a dogmatic, like you're like, this movie was excellent. No more, no discussion needed.
Yeah. No, I'm saying it.
I don't know. I found myself. So this one was my favorite as a child. But coming back and rewatching it, I kind of really liked the first one. I loved I don't know. There are things to really love about the second one, and I think Joan Cusack is like a breakout superstar in it, and she's just so malevolent in the best possible way. And Fester, it was interesting. I feel like they the thing that I didn't like is I think Fester was like down a couple notches on his intellect, because than the first movie, because he's just so stupid, but then he's stupid because he's horny. So it's fair.
Yeah, been there. I think most people have at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I used to be the same way. I think I used to prefer the first one, and it's definitely the one I've seen more. It was the VHS we had in the house when I was a kid. But I think every time I watch this movie, I get a little bit more out of it, and I just I have more to admire about it every time. And I think, central among it is Joan Cusack giving what I consider one of my very favorite comedic performances in a film ever, period. I mean, she's unbelievably funny in this movie.
Fester's immortal, right?
They're all kind of, right?
They're all kind of immortal. That's the insinuation.
Yeah.
There's a few jokes that I caught that I was like, oh, that's clever. And one of them was, what's Joan Cusack's, what's her character's name again?
Debbie.
Debbie Jelinski.
Debbie Jelinski. She calls, oh my God, what was the dad's name? Gomez.
Yes.
Jesus. My brain, all right, now that filled in the blanks of all the other characters in my head. So
okay, good.
I'm good. I remember where everyone else fits in the puzzle. She calls Gomez a lady killer, and he goes, acquitted.
Yes.
And I'm like, sir? Excuse me?
I love it when they drop little bombs like that, and the first one was so good about that too. Just really dark little jokes underneath, just to highlight that yes, this is a happy, loving family, but they are also deeply evil and corrupt.
Also, to Hayato's point previously, when they're trying to when Fester's confessing to Gomez that he's looking for love, he's like, I want a thing, and then Gomez is like, well, you have hand. Or you have thing. And he goes, I want more than that. I want somebody with legs and stuff. And I'm like,
the cutaway.
Hello?
The cutaway to thing, trembling. He's just in the corner, oh God. Oh, the poor thing. Literally, poor thing. Yeah, I mean, I just
gay
think...
canon.
Gay canon, yeah. I believe it.
I'm trying to think, what makes this a good sequel? And honestly, I think it's just a good movie. I think the first movie, is flawed. It was good, but it was the Addams Family, and it was the further into the movie we get, the more we learn, and the Addams Family grows, and it's essentially them taking up space that has them winning. They win over Fester. They not win over, but they defeat their financial problems.
Yeah.
And in this one, it's more like the Addams Family versus America.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think it does that so incredibly that it really feels like the points that they're making, they're at a summer camp doing a Thanksgiving pageant.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. The satire.
Can we get into this?
The satire, I think, in this movie is absolutely brilliant. Yeah, a significant portion of the movie is spent following Wednesday and Pugsley at a summer camp for privileged youth. Literally, it's called that, and it's just all these rich, waspy, like blondes, like surrounding them everywhere. And then it's just these weird sore thumbs that like stand out, and they're like bucking the system at every trend, or they're bucking the system at every moment. And I love every moment of this summer camp subplot.
So some of the stuff that I love about the Addams family themselves, like they get these really funny lines like, oh, Wednesday's at that age, where she has only one thing on her mind, boys, homicide. Yeah, these are very funny jokes. But then there's like really subtle ways that we see what the Addams family is. And something that I noticed on this watch was every scene at summer camp, Pugsley and Wednesday are just hanging out. Like in one of the first scenes, he's just sitting on her bed, like, doing some, it's not a Rubik's Cube, but like something with his hands. And she's there, essentially getting a little bit bullied and then bullying them back. And it really honestly thinks like, what movie have you seen in American Family where the kids are at summer camp and they're not fighting?
Yeah.
And they're just like, this is understood. This is this family. They are, it's something I'm going to talk about in a minute. They have a bond with each other that's not based on loyalty. It's based on love and acceptance. So when they do things for each other, it's the right thing to do. And it separates it separates itself from a lot of these other things we see in this movie where it's not patriotism as nationalism. Like the last image we see of Joan Cusack is in front of a American flag. Again, a Thanksgiving pageant that's trying to erase history, and like literally the minorities are casted to the side. I'm like, okay, so like I love that they made such a specific point of like what nationalism becomes and like what the Addams family isn't.
There's also an interesting thing with that same stuff of up until they get sent away to camp, the younger children are basically the children are just trying to kill the baby. But then like right before that, there's a moment where Wednesday comes in and kind of catches Debbie being a dick to the baby, and she calls her a gross or a brat or something, and Wednesday immediately goes like, no she's not, or no he's not. Like, no, I'm going, like, look, this is my fucking family here. Like, don't you even start.
I think we can accept that. And this is, me kind of picking and choosing what to accept as, like, real and is just flavorful. But, like, I think them, literally trying to kill each other is this silly thing. Because we do see one moment where the guillotine does fall and the baby's able to, like, stop it. So in this way, we can kind of guess that they're all just, like, playing like this. Even their attempts to harm each other were never going to fruit a harm or a violence.
And even in the first movie, they were doing it to each other. Mostly Wednesday starting it, but
they established it that it's like a sibling rivalry thing, that they're always trying to kill each other.
Yeah, it's a regular occurrence, and in fact, at some point, they even try to shoot the baby, and it doesn't work. However, you don't see it; it happens in the background, and you just hear it. But it's like it's like, all right, what kind of immortality bullshit do they have going for them at this point?
I mean, it's just cartoon logic, I think. I feel like the Addams family are cartoons living in a real world.
I don't know. I
Wait
like
a
to think
minute.
that they all have their own Dorian Gray picture somewhere.
Totally. Or like there's definitely like a satanic pact like somewhere in their family history or
Are you
something
telling
like
me that this is some way indirectly related to Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Direct parallel.
Oh my God.
I mean, I feel
Tunes living amongst people? Unthinkable.
Wait, is Christopher Lloyd in both?
Yeah.
He is. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Who did he play in?
He was Judge Doom.
Judge Doom.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah,
now
he transforms so much in this
He
movie.
plays Fester in this.
Yes.
And now we start part 2 of the Roger Rabbit podcast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Firing me
Justin,
back up.
now with you.
But yes, so I think this balances out the use of the family really well. I think everybody kind of gets there. So Gomez and Morticia are almost like sidelined a little bit, and a lot of that is because of Raul Julia's illness. He had pretty severe stomach cancer around this time, and he was struggling with that. But yeah,
Which I also learned he didn't tell anyone.
He wasn't telling people about it. Yeah, but Angelica Houston recalls like noticing that he was like. Just really struggling on set and like wasn't eating and losing weight, so that's a really sad thing. But yeah, so they get sidelined a little bit, but we have like the Fester storyline with him being with this Black Widow murderer played by Joan Cusack, and then we have the kids off at summer camp dealing with their own challenges, and they're ducking in and out of each other's lives in these really fun ways. And then, of course, the thing that they were sort of selling the movie on is the birth of a new Addams family member. You know, canonically, they are adding a character to this family. And I have to say, I am really glad that the baby is not an overwhelming part of this movie. Like, I feel like that would just get kind of cloying and kind of weird. I think they use the baby just enough.
I don't like the baby. I feel like the baby is the biggest weakness to this movie. I feel like if they had made this movie without the baby, it would be infinitely better.
I will say, while we're talking about cast members, Carol Kane coming in as new grandma.
Yes.
A swift transition between the two movies, and I want to say, like, this is her first movie where she's playing an old granny, but this is also like
Princess Bride's first.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But like, it's not. She was in a horror movie called I think When a Stranger Calls.
Yes.
Where she's a
Yeah.
babysitter, and like, it's not long enough ago where like between like babysitter to like crone.
she'd be in her early 40s.
She was 11 months older than Angelica Houston.
Mama.
And you think Hollywood could just hire an older woman? No,
You would think.
no.
But yeah, Carol Kane has such a distinctive voice and kind of a distinctive acting style that and that's really served her well, because now she's like in her 60s or 70s. She looks fantastic, and everybody like doesn't really know her
sassy
age
broad
anymore.
on Star Trek.
Yeah, that's right.
Love
Yeah,
her.
she's on the new Star Trek. Yeah, I mean, she's great. The baby. This was kind of a unfortunate epidemic of early 90s movies where they had to have a baby, and it tended to steal focus, or it would be talking baby movies, or did anybody see Baby's Day Out? Like, really terrible, like, slapstick comedy about a baby like crawling around the city, and these three criminals are trying to stop it. It's just the most cloying, obnoxious bullshit. And I get really creeped out by babies in movies, so I'm glad they don't go too hard on this one.
They did select a very cute baby.
They did.
But
So what specifically did you not like about like the baby scenes?
the family was complete. The family didn't need an addition. The addition didn't bring anything substantive to the family. I'd rather just Wednesday and Pugsley get up to shenanigans. The baby saves them, and I'm like, oh, come on. Like, it should be better to have Wednesday save them or Pugsley save them coming back from the baby is such a, I don't know. I've always thought babies ruin movies. They really do, in my personal opinion. And I just feel like...
And lives.
Yeah, and lives.
Yeah.
Universal.
I get what you're
That's
saying, though.
universally true.
Like, it's such a dumb cop-out to be like, and then the baby saves everyone, and it's like, oh, okay, likely. Like, and it was a very, I think they played an Addams Family style, like, Rube Goldberg machine of how the baby gets there.
Yeah. No, I mean I don't know. I appreciate how they use it, and I like the whole subplot of when the baby gets sick, it gets these bouncy blonde curls, and the whole room turns white and looks like a very classic nursery. Like, that's their idea of the worst thing that could happen to their baby.
So I love this part.
Yeah.
As I've mentioned a few times, we start seeing the blondness and identity of Debbie spread across several young campers. And they are all essentially Debbie Juniors doing a Thanksgiving pageant. Yeah. And we see that this is a line of, it's almost like a Karen pipeline. We can put in simple terms, but it's this very privileged, monstrous thing. And when we see baby Pubert going blonde, it's essentially Gomez recognizing like, how cool is it to see a trope of a father being like, not my child, when it's not about like the child is gay, or like a daughter, going to school for art, and he's like, oh, why don't you do a real job? It's a child that he sees going in the direction of what will turn into nationalism. It's noticing like, oh, my kid is getting into Fox News, and he's like upset about it. And it's like, this is such a cool message to see. Like, this is a father who loves his child and doesn't like the world that he's going into, and it's for the child's sake, not for like fit into my world, stay in Addams. It's the pipeline you're going down is is what scares Gomez. I'm like, damn.
I absolutely love the comparison of Karen's to nationalism because I was like, that's ridiculous. And then I thought like one more second, I was like, that's kind of it.
You only have to have like one or two of them follow you in a store before you're like, oh, okay, I know what's going on.
I think that's a really good point. I've never made that connection with this, that like Debbie is kind of like the twisted end product of all these little girls in the summer camp.
It slowly infects everything in the movie.
Yeah, she's just really entitled and spoiled and sociopathic and just like wants more and feels she deserves more. She is this kind of like perverted version of the American dream and also like celebrity and all of this stuff. And Joan Cusack never really gets to play parts like this. Like she's always like the wacky best friend or just like the quirky girl next door. She gets to do stuff like that. She doesn't get to be sexy and she doesn't get to be a villain very often. And I think she's really great because she wanders into this movie just so unfazed by anything. I think the only time you ever see her kind of like start is when she meets Cousin It for the first time. And even then she recovers. Like, I mean, for God's sake, a severed hand calls onto her.
She takes like a half second with Thing.
Yeah, I guess
she stares at him, and I think it was
she sucked him off.
That's true. She stared at him for a second, and then was like, "I got this."
Yeah, she's like, "I'm very good with my hands." Like that's an Elvira moment right there.
She went for it. Yeah.
She's ruthless. No, just I really like what you were saying about her being like this twisted American dream because I think that's what this movie ultimately does. It's the Addams family as the family with American values, which is different from the American family because the American family is nuclear. And we see here Grandma, we see Lurch, we see we see Thing. And it's not just they happen to live in the house, it's that it kind of sets up this, I want to say momentum of like anyone's welcome in the house. We often see gatherings in the Addams family's house and there's never a bit of drama.
No.
Flora and Fauna will date the same person.
And they'll like invite people. They're like, hey, our lawyer, fucking come on over, bud. Hang out with us. And they're just like, what are we doing here? This is such a weird place, but nobody is saying anything. No one's talking shit to us.
Like, that's the thing. They don't really have an axe to grind with the outside world. Like, they are so happy and so, like, content doing their own weird thing that they're just not gonna, like, they're not bothered by other people, but they're also not gonna change themselves for their comfort.
And like when he went to the police station.
Yeah.
And it's like,
showing that the cops are useless. Thank you.
It was like
film debut of Nathan Lane right there.
Was that the debut?
That was his first. I mean, he was a big deal on Broadway already.
He played into his own character hard. Oh, speaking of cameos, Cynthia Nixon at the top as a babysitter.
Yes, that's
Tony
right.
Shalhoub as a sailor for some reason.
For very briefly, like he would have been on Wings already at this point. I think like he was already kind of a name.
He looked,
yeah. You have a couple things, and then very young David Krumholtz as the kind of nerdy kid that they're partnered up with at the summer camp. I think he's great in this. Yeah, he's a lot of fun. It's just weird to see him in this, and now it's like, oh shit, that's the guy from Oppenheimer. Like, yeah, he's really good.
Is it Tony Shalhoub?
Tony Shalhoub.
Yeah.
Was a
sailor.
Right. Yeah.
And he's so charming.
Yeah.
That scene is burned into my mind, and I don't think you have to ask why Tony Shalhoub singing YMCA is something I think about very often.
Again, like you said, gay canon. Like this movie has him singing
just
like,
a bunch of sailors in Hawaii, and it's like, yeah. Oh my God.
And I mean, and when Debbie gets the money, like she basically just becomes like a psychotic, like Beverly Hills 90210, like / Joan Collins kind of thing, like real tacky, like real expensive, everything.
Debbie
and then she blows it all up. After putting so much effort and being such a jerk to everyone, like moving things into the house, she just fucking blows the whole thing up.
I think it's a real, like, a reflection of, like, she could have joined the Addams family.
Yeah.
But she creates this own, like, parody of what the Addams family have, only this beige Buick version of it, and it's just like it's lame, and like Morticia Addams, I could forgive you everything but not pastels, Debbie. And it was just like, and it really is mockery of what the Addams family values.
Yes. Hey.
Hey.
Say the title, win the movie.
Say the title, win the movie.
Yeah.
But Debbie, and I love Debbie's tirade about the fact that she wanted a ballerina Barbie and not a Malibu Barbie, and that was enough to get her to kill her parents.
Well, she didn't specify she killed her parents. She just specified she burnt everything down.
I mean,
I think it was implied that she killed her parents.
Yeah, you can read between the lines on that.
Well, it was so funny because Morticia was having having moving tears at the end when Debbie was doing her her villain monologue. Again, it's I love when you can point to a villain monologue and be like, yeah, that's a villain monologue.
And they are so on board with everything. They are in her corner. They complete she's got them strapped to electric chairs about to kill them, and they're so unbothered by it that they're actually empathizing with her as if she actually has something to empathize with. I
think they do empathize with her because they it's the darkness of Debbie's soul that would allure them to the family. As opposed to it's her wanting to keep up appearances that makes her incompatible with the family.
Right. I mean, trying to kill each other is kind of how they show affection, you know? So they're not going to begrudge her that at all.
And that's why Fester never got the point.
So I like, what you're saying, J-Ben, at every moment that there's a confrontation with Debbie, they never talk mean to her. When they go to the house, it's, you've put him under some weird sexual spell. I can respect that. But can we please see him? They just want to hang out with their Fester.
Yeah.
And then same, I think, was it towards the very end? Oh, fuck, I wish I could remember the specific parts. But yeah, we see they all lend their sympathies to her at every point. They accept her. I think with Debbie versus the Addams family, we see the American dream versus the family with American values, and it's the American dream of greed and capitalism. The only trait of Debbie's that's actually bad in this movie is how ruthless she is.
Yeah.
That she will hurt people to help herself. Everything else, the actual hurting isn't the problem. It's it's this specific ruthlessness. And, if you look at it now, what's the most ruthless thing in America? It's corporations. Businesses aren't apologetic. Amazon is not, it's especially ruthless to their employees. So it's very, very cool to see this, breakdown of the American family being torn apart and literally, the family being torn apart, nearly killed by the greed. And then, while the baby saving everyone is kind of a cop-out, it is notable that the baby has gone back from blonde to dark hair, and he's gone back to being an Addams.
Yeah, and that's there must be some kind of mythology there of that's why they're invulnerable is because they're Addams. But I do really love the title of this movie because the title of this is a jab at Vice President Dan Quayle. Yes. He made a speech a couple years before this. I think it was in response to the Rodney King riots or something like that, where he was blaming all the violence on a breakdown in American family values. And so it became known as the family values speech.
You've activated my trap card, Steve.
Oh no.
So fun fact.
Okay.
I told you I was going to bring this back at some point.
Oh my God. If the words limp or biscuit come out of your mouth, I will jump over this table.
In 1999, the new metal band Korn took the same parodying of that speech and started a tour called the Family Values Tour, which is how Limp Bizkit got famous.
Okay.
There you go.
All right. I'll spare that one.
I have so much of this stupid trivia in my brain. Please get it out. I don't want it.
Oh my God.
It's just there.
Just start the Limp Biz cast already, and then you can take all the time you want on that.
More queer thoughts on Addams Family.
Please.
Is it a boy? Is it a girl? It's an Addams, non-binary. Wow.
I love that. Love that.
It's a funny joke, but it's literally a father whose immediate answer to is it a boy is to be it's my child.
Yeah.
What are you asking me that for? It's yeah, wait.
And he's ecstatic about this too. Immediately accepting.
Why can't this be the normal?
Yeah. No, I love that, and I mean the reveal of the name of the baby is really funny. Where they're playing it up. It's we wanted something dignified, Pubert, so there is a Pubert Addams now.
The last bit of trivia from my research. I was looking up some videos of Joan Cusack. Really weird interview with her. The interviewer was weird, but there was some interesting. Discussion about it because, like I said, this is a new role for Joan Cusack, and the lady was like, "You're just very not sexily, but like you were very like
Provocative,
exposed,
yeah.
provocative.
Yeah,
And I was just
yeah.
like, this lady needs to mind her own business. Like, how did you feel about that? Was that the most revealing thing you've ever worn on film or in your personal life outside of your boudoir? Of course, I'm like, Jesus.
Wow. All right, calm down.
It was.
Yeah.
Anyways, the cool thing.
Ma'am,
from
how do you
that-
think I shower?
Why are you asking me?
I wear a cardigan in
want
there.
a
What are you talking
picture?
about?
And what time do you get dressed? No, so I think
What window?
what I like from this interview though, Joan Cusack like looked at it and was like, at first, you know, she asked herself like, is this a little bit misogynistic? But she ends up being like, no, like she's capable, she's confident, she's sophisticated, and that's how the actress sees the character, and that is
Yeah.
absolutely how Debbie exists in this world. Like she's at her core, you know, pretty rotten and selfish and ruthless, but she can navigate the world very well. In being asked all these questions about the way she dressed and like, were you okay being dressed that provocative? She's just like, no, there's nothing wrong with sexuality. And I was just like,
Yeah.
okay. And so like she,
And I think to a degree, it's also such a weird thing too, because it's not like her character was doing it. Like she was doing it for a purpose.
Yeah.
She a very specific purpose of the Black Widow. I'm going to get this rich guy to marry me. This isn't like she just goes out every night dressed provocatively.
Yes, she does. Yes,
Like,
that's the whole point of her going to the sailors. It's
I
like
guess
this
so.
is her, this is what she wants. She wants the money so she can live however the fuck she wants. She's
Yeah.
living. She wants the
keep rubbing my
freedom
pants.
to be who she is, and who she is a terrible person, and
Hey.
it's really awesome.
Yeah. She embraces it completely. Like she is not conflicted about who she is in any way. Like she does not feel.
she has a
any guilt
car
with
that
it.
says Debbie 2. Like that's, I want a car with license plate Debbie 2.
She has two cars. One of them is Debbie 1, and
Yeah.
the other one is Debbie 2.
Yeah.
That's
how you get to
that's
Debbie 2.
another level. Yeah, I guess so.
Well, and it's just like, and it's so interesting because it's like her greed isn't enough because she's on her third husband, and so she's just like she's caught up into this like consumerism. But again, like you said, she explodes it. She just like sets fire to these things.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't care about them in the begin with. She loves the hunt.
Yeah.
She loves the hunt and the
So
kill.
this is what I love about the nuance in this movie, because she's a greedy villain that is dressed as a 90s business lady. And
Yeah.
it's so easy to vilify like women who don't take care of the home, like women who choose their personal ambitions over caring for family. And it looked like this movie could have easily fallen into the trap, and it never does. Like we see the family accept Debbie. We see them offer her sympathy like every time they can. Like they don't dislike this person. This person is not wrong. It's like just she's just a little too aggressive about the things she wants, but like
Yeah.
Also,
they're so wholesome.
I thought it was interesting that Debbie 1 was a Buick and Debbie 2 is a Mercedes.
Okay.
It's just
wouldn't have
like
noticed
she upgraded cars over time.
That's our car corner with Justin.
No, it's like,
revealed that three
it's
out of the four
again,
people
it's
at
one
this
of those
table don't
things
know
of
anything.
like,
Oh no, I'm turning straight. Oh no.
she bought a fancier car and then just doesn't care about the first one when it gets wrecked. She's just like, fuck it, I'll take Debbie 2 out now.
Hell yeah.
I've been hiding Debbie 2 for some reason.
And it is a funny subversion of this trope that, like, you know, she does everything right. Her scheme pulls off, but the one thing she didn't count on is that, my husband can't be killed because he's a cartoon character. You know,
Andy has a friend that is literally just a floating hand that can somehow drive a fucking car.
She didn't count on a family that loved each other unconditionally.
Exactly. That's a big one. I mean, you know, I want to circle back to the summer camp for a minute just because I love this summer camp so much. Are you not a fan of this?
Oh no,
Oh,
I
okay.
loved it. So
Oh,
this-
good. Okay.
I feel like the summer camp lived in my head rent free for years.
I loved it because I hated it.
Yes. They're all so contemptible. The main girl that they bring, that's Mercedes McNabb, once again from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. She has a cameo as a Girl Scout in the first movie, and then she becomes like the main antagonist girl at this camp. But the counselors are Christine Baranski and Peter McNichol, who are both unbelievably funny in this. They are insane and evil in a way that the Addams can't even hope to approach. Like Peter McNichol in particular is so good at playing like wild-eyed, like kind of weenies, you know, like he's
Wild-eyed
weenie. There's an improv.
You know what, he played that role in
to his
Ghostbusters 2.
In Ghostbusters 2.
Are we ever
perfectly.
going to get to Ghostbusters 2?
We are.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely we are. Yeah, he's so good in that. I mean, he's the one funny part of the Mel Brooks movie Dracula Dead and Loving It. He's Renfield in that, which is an unbelievably perfect casting, and he's so funny. But yeah, I mean, they wisely singled out Christina Ricci as kind of a standout from the first movie, and so they gave her a much bigger role this time around. And she really kind of runs with it. Pugsley is always just kind of like there. No disrespect to Pugsley, but his personality is that he doesn't have a personality. You know, she gets this little romantic subplot with little David Krumholtz, who is like shunned from the camp because A, he's Jewish, and B, he's very neurotic. They make a point. The funniest part of this whole scene, and the part that makes me like want to rip my hair out at the same time, is when they're announcing the casting for their play. And they cast all of the beautiful white children as the pilgrims, and all of the Indians are being played by like the black kid, or like the heavyset girl, or the boy in the wheelchair, or the goth nerds, you know, and just all the outcasts. And then when you see the play itself and the way that they talk about the people, and it's so savage and so brutal. And that you absolutely feel vindicated when they literally burn the place to the ground.
When they hijack it and then pillage it.
Like, and again, this is where we get into the weird logical things where, like, they seem to burn the main girl at the stake.
Yeah.
But we do see her on the plane.
They definitely
at the end of
killed
the movie.
David Krumholtz's parents, too.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. But I mean, they're all alive at the end. So, like, whatever. They can control life or death. But no, every beat of this summer camp subplot, like, is fantastic.
I think it's so interesting when they have Wednesday Addams after being in the hut all day, and she's playing along and she gives a smile, and I'm just like, I don't know, there's just something so that I love about Wednesday, because you're always, as a woman, you're told to fucking smile all the fucking time. And so like Wednesday just in like, she smiles when she's about to kill someone, and like, you know, when she's about to do the guillotine,
She's about to end your career.
Yeah.
but it's just like to have Wednesday do this fake smile, like, broke my heart a little bit. And it was just like, no, Wednesday, I know you're just fucking with them, but no, you shouldn't have to.
But she plays it so perfectly. Like, you really believe it is painful for her to be making that face. Like, it is. She's exercising muscles that have not been used in years.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, that camp was owned by the counselors. They do say that at some point, right?
I think so, yeah.
So their livelihood's probably not in good shape after
Oh, yeah.
this.
Well, they were
It's
roasted
also
on a
really
spit.
interesting because the Chippewa people don't live anywhere near that area or
No.
anywhere near the
Also,
Pilgrims.
are you
it's called
worried about the
appropriation.
camp counselors after we saw the
No, I'm not worried about them. I'm just making a point.
Yeah.
They fucked
And
around.
They mentioned
They found
that
out.
each child was paying $20,000 per child
Yeah.
for the summer camp.
Yeah.
Hopefully, they caused at least that much in damages.
I mean, I think the one sort of logical inconsistency in this whole movie, at least in terms of its own logic, is that they do kind of take a shortcut of getting the kids to the camp. Like, Gomez and Morticia don't really interrogate it as much as they should, and they're also more upset about them trying to kill that baby than I think they reasonably would be.
Well, I think they should. So they don't mention it, but in the first one, Gomez and Fester did go to summer camp.
That's right. Yeah, they did.
They have pictures of them at summer camp
For preteen offenders.
Like, I feel like they should have it was summer camp for preteen offenders.
This is the part where Debbie was saying, like, this is a specific one they wanted to go to. They promised me not to tell you, but
Yeah.
I think it's what they need. So, like, it is one that, you know, Debbie picked out.
Yeah.
I do appreciate, the parents' like willingness to be like, you know, I wish they were comfortable enough to tell us these things, but if this is what they want, and it's like, damn, what cool ass parents.
Yeah.
Well, I just went with it.
I want to.
I would have thought that there would have been more of a conversation, but yeah.
Well, I think that's the part of Debbie being like, don't.
Yeah.
The kids promised me not to, like, because, and also there's another thing is that for a while I used to think that Debbie was there because Morticia and Gomez were, you know, worried about the livelihood of their baby, and it's like, no, this is how they all play.
Yeah.
they're just tired because they have 3 kids.
Right.
Oh, that's totally reasonable. It doesn't have to be because the one's gonna kill the other one. It's literally just like 3 kids are a lot, and there's just like maybe one a nanny.
And the children are cock blocking Gomez and Morticia.
Biggest
No,
crime.
let me just throw out here, right? We never see them go to work.
No, they're
rich.
independent.
They're independently
They're
filthy
stay-at-home
Richie.
rich parents.
Yeah.
They're old,
And they
old
still
money.
hired a nanny.
Yeah, of course. Who wouldn't hire a nanny? Nannies should be provided for every human being who has a child.
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, you can't trust it with like Lurch, you know, like he's too
Why
the
not?
the hand is just one hand, and the grandma's gonna keep trying to cook him.
Lurch has things to do. Lurch is running that household.
I imagine he's like hanging cobwebs, you know, like he's doing the opposite of what
He's
regular
basically
butler
doing
does.
what everyone else does at the beginning
He's
of
dirtying the
October.
That has a garden, a greenhouse.
You saw how big that garden was.
Oh,
a
we did.
graveyard, like that, an entire house that like is like they have moats, they have dungeon. Who's cleaning Morticia
Also-
and Gomez's
Oh, the
sex
slides
dungeon?
from that first movie with the bank underneath.
Yeah.
Did they report Debbie's death?
Oh, I
It
don't
was
imagine they did.
She was ashes. They buried her.
They buried her, but
Except
does
for her
anyone
gold
know?
cards? Ding ding.
Yes.
Loved it. Also, again, like, this movie is so good. What a beautiful picture of the roasting of capitalism with patent leather shoes, a pile of ashes, and a few gold credit cards.
I
It's like,
love
yeah,
it. Yeah.
that's what she was.
Absolutely.
I do want to shout out like some amazing lines from Wednesday Addams that me and my friends definitely like co-opted as much as we could into our personality of being like, oh, I'll play the victim your whole life.
Yes. Oh, so good.
Or like, is that your bathing suit? Is that your overbite?
Her horror story about all their old noses growing back was so good. Yeah, like just you know, all these little digs and yeah.
I guess like they're just cool moments where it's just like, and even that specifically, it's not that she doesn't like them because they're weird or different. It's that like she gets what they're about.
Yeah.
It's just not for her.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, this offers me nothing.
So I think it's interesting. Like, so I both have I have a weird relationship with like the kid that they sort of like, she has like this romantic subplot with, because I really like the fact that she can make friends outside of her family.
Yes.
And that I like the scene where they're like exchanging murder cards, because heaven knows I've bonded with friends over talking about serial killers. It's something that
God. They really like called out what was going to happen 30 years later. I'm like, oh, 20 years from now, one, it'll be super cool to hate Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And everyone's going to love true crime murders.
Absolutely. Yeah.
but I really like how they handled it in the end and being like, no, like I'm still Wednesday. I'm not quite into being my parents quite yet.
But that does help to make her a little more likable and make the characters more likable, because they have an affinity for outsiders.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter that he's like a scrawny nerd or whatever, and that he's not really like on their same vibe. He is an outsider. He doesn't want to be here, and they can bond over that.
Yeah, I like that.
She also is like, I'd pity you if you worshipped me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, fuck off, buddy.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
That was good.
Fun fact about David Krumholtz seeing the Michael Jackson poster and screaming.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So Michael Jackson was actually supposed to make the
Yeah.
original song for Addams Family.
He sure
Was that
was.
covered on the last podcast?
What's that?
No.
Was it? Okay.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
no, we didn't mention that. Yeah, no, he wanted to do the theme music for this.
Yeah.
And I think 3 or 4 months before this movie came out, the first allegations came out against Michael Jackson. And so a lot of people were distancing themselves. So that's this movie and Sonic the Hedgehog 3, which he was supposed to do the music for. And actually, allegedly, the music that he wrote is in that game, but he's not credited.
Officially, apparently it was like Michael Jackson's lawyers that were like, you're not going to be able to do that. Like, is what they say. I wonder if it's true, if it is. Because it made it sound like it was already decided Michael Jackson couldn't do it before his thing came out.
Yeah.
I wonder.
That could be. I mean, maybe they're getting out ahead of the story or something. But the thing that they replace it with is something I want to talk about here.
Yeah.
It's a song by the early 90s hip-hop group Tag Team. You might know them for their jock jam, Whoop, There It Is. And so they wrote a song for this movie called Whoop, There It Is, parentheses, The Addams Family. And it's literally just the same song again that they put the Addams Family lyrics into. And it's one of the laziest and most hilariously bad movie songs ever. It actually won a Razzie Award for Worst Song in a Film. and I watched the music video like 4 or 5 times. It's amazing. It's unbelievable. It's so lazy. I mean, I just imagine like if you're a hit pop star, you have one song, and then every song that you do after that is just a variation on that same song with the same title.
Ooh, there it is, Scooby-Doo gang.
There it is, Jurassic Park 2. Yeah.
Oh my God, it works for so many things. We figured it out. Every song, every movie theme.
The Godfather Part 3. Huh. Yes.
I guess it is interesting to think, like, you know, in a post-Barbie world of what this a movie that will essentially try to like market tie-in stuff like in a popular song. And, you know, when the more recent animated Addams Family movie came out, there was all the like Happy Meals and all these things.
Sure.
But we see a movie here that's very clearly like so anti-capitalism, anti-greed, anti like this image of what we need. And something I was gonna say about Debbie being the you know, this force of greed. It's very interesting to see that she enters the family through like the weakness of the family was Fester coveting his brother.
Yeah.
And like that was the opening that let this the crack that let, you know, Debbie in.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I think speaking of an anti-capitalist message, obviously this movie has to have a video game because that keeps happening with the movies like toys that have really strong anti-capitalist messages. We of course need to put a video game in there.
Don't let it be successful.
Absolutely not.
The marketing for this movie was not a good one, apparently. Which is why the movie didn't do well. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they were just kind of coasting on the momentum and the goodwill of the first movie, but people didn't turn out. They didn't know about it. But
somebody definitely sat in a room when they were coming up with like brainstorming and stuff, and they're like, well, look, because the other movie came out 2 years ago, we don't have to do as much marketing. We don't have to put as much effort into this.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I think that was definitely a factor. Are we ready to transition over to the game a little bit? I think
I was born ready.
All right.
I believe Hayato had some of the villain monologue to say.
Oh my God. Oh.
I don't want to hurt anybody. I don't enjoy hurting anybody. I don't like guns or bombs or electric chairs, but sometimes people just won't listen. And so I have to use persuasion and slides. You took me in. You accepted me. But did any of you love me? I mean, really love me. So I killed. So I maimed. So I destroyed one innocent life after another. Aren't I a human being? Don't I yearn and ache and shop? Don't I deserve love and jewelry?
That is amazing. Very good. Very good. Beautifully done.
It's just like
It's a good one.
we see who she is stripped down. She is a person that wants.
Yes.
And it's not so bad that she wants, but she's willing to hurt other people for the
And
things she wants.
legitimately, so much of that speech could have been things that the Addams family have done.
Sure.
Guns,
they have.
bombs.
Yeah,
None of
they-
those things are the problem with her.
They kill people all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
They really don't have
The
a
only
problem
thing
with it.
she needed more love. She didn't have the love that the Addams family have.
Look.
They always only pitied her.
None of the murders can be proven.
The love of things versus the love of people, because
Yeah.
the Addams family have all this money and they have some pretty cool stuff, but they're not constantly collecting new things.
No.
For example, in the first movie, they were selling their finger trap, and then they bought back their finger trap.
Yeah.
In an erotic auction.
Some fin-dom going on.
But and I think that's something that like they have what they need, and they appreciate it. And Debbie never, like, it's never enough. Like, and like there's something, I don't know, there's something edgy about something never being enough, but there's also something sad about it.
Yeah.
And I think the interesting part about that is that she says, like, did you ever love me? I deserve love. But, like, at no point did she try.
No, I mean, she's a sociopath who is
Right,
just kind of
yeah.
using these material goods as kind of a means to continue killing people.
So there's a thing that's been happening lately, and it's been like in Marvel movies and stuff where it's like they have to make the bad guy seem complicated. So they have this speech that makes them seem like they're doing bad things for good reasons. And then there's always that very easy plot hole of like, bro, why?
Right. Yeah.
You didn't have to do all of this.
Yeah.
Like, you could have just rocked up and been a kick-ass nanny and you'd probably be fine.
Probably. Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying you have to love Fester and do all that stuff, but like, it was all fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, speaking of Fester, the protagonist of our game this time around. Now we talked about the video game last week, which is kind of a really fun, colorful, side-scrolling platformer that J-Ban in particular really connected with.
I loved it so much.
Yes, and it's like it was really charming, and I was fully expecting this game to just kind of follow that same template and go the same route. Like, I don't know if that first game was a big hit or not, but like it felt like the easiest way to approach this is just to follow that same route.
Unfortunately, this was before the games industry really truly learned how to do sequels.
Yeah.
And by that, I mean, is it even the same company that they had make this game?
It is. Yeah, it's still
That's
Ocean.
good.
Yeah, it's
and
still
they
Ocean.
just nothing kept from the first game.
Well, basically what they did is they went from like a pretty good Mario clone to a pretty bad Zelda clone, I think. And that's not really the move that you want to be making. Yeah, so the game now stars Fester, which makes this, if you're counting at home, the second video game featuring Fester as a main character. So go Fester, I guess. But it is a top-down kind of action RPG in the same vein as Legend of Zelda, and it's a lot of kind of wandering around dungeons looking for keys, which is a real oversimplification of what makes Zelda work. And I think that's kind of the whole problem with this game in general, is that it's too basic and also too hard.
And endless dialogue boxes that have not even bad jokes, but like jokes without charm, punchlines without jokes. Like, it's just so, you're like, if you're gonna have all this dialogue, write a fucking joke.
Yeah.
And it's also like they're trying to hit on that like Addams Family style and then just never quite getting there.
So the first game was clearly using the sprites from the original TV show. Like, these were based on those actors, and like they didn't really have the licensing rights to the movie. This one definitely has the rights to the movie. Like, the actors appear in the dialogue boxes, but the overworld renditions of them look very cartoony and very different, which gives the game its own like little flavor. Like, I don't think this game looks bad. I think it looks quite nice in a lot of places.
Why is Fester wearing beige?
I mean, why does anybody wear beige? You wear
If
it
he
'cause
wears
you
black,
wanna,
you wouldn't be able to. It'd be very hard to see him on the
Like,
screen.
throw gray
especially
on.
in like the dungeons. Yeah.
There's ways around that.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah, they make him beige.
Yeah, that's the way.
Justin, I don't know what to
The
do.
whole point was no beige.
Make him black, okay, and then his shadow underneath him's also black, and then you're like, why does he look like this?
Yeah.
No, I think I have not honestly played a lot of like games of this era that I find terribly fun.
Okay.
Like, this feels I get like, and I guess maybe I should play the
Yeah, though, I hate to break it to you, but it's because most of them aren't fun.
right. So I feel like
Especially the ones we're playing for this show. Yeah.
Yeah. So like I mean I feel like it's a poor Zelda clone, but that being said, I don't have a terribly fun time playing Zelda because it's mostly wandering out a big map trying to figure out where I'm supposed to go.
Sure.
Getting really confused with my buttons over and over, and then like the collision boxes of like walls and like the path you're supposed to take. It's all, not
And you open the map on accident.
Yeah, bad dialogue. Honestly, like any Final Fantasy game on like Super Nintendo era is just like, it's way too much dialogue.
Yeah.
These fights are like, I mean, I guess they had so
Those
many
are-
games to finally get good at fights, though. They were mostly annoying.
Those are telling more compelling stories, I would argue. Like, Final Fantasy VI is one of my favorite games ever.
The story of
I'm talking
this
about, like, Final
game.
Fantasy, like 3 or like 5.
The OGs.
Yeah.
When you created your own character because it didn't matter.
Yes.
The story of this particular game is you are Fester and you are trying to reclaim the baby from Debbie, who apparently has stolen the baby, and this is an alternate timeline.
Yeah.
And it's not technically really like movie
Yeah,
related.
they don't adapt the plot of the movie very directly, but they do include like the new characters, and they make Debbie the antagonist, which is, you know, obviously the move to go with. And like in the first game, you stay on the Addams Family grounds the entire time, you know, which is a good setting for a video game because it is this palatial estate with lots of little hidden bits, you know. And Jabin, I know you were really loving all the different secrets that you could find in the first game.
Yes,
And
the game was so much fun.
I didn't feel
Such a delight.
I didn't feel as compelled to explore in this one, and I don't think this one had that many little
It
secrets.
Like I think the opening of the game, like immediately you open, you go to a dungeon, you do a boss, in a completely unimaginative like 3 dungeon area, and it's just so boring.
Yeah.
It's just like it's so boring. There's like everything in this game. Like we have played a lot of games. And like very rarely, like I'm usually watching them and being like, I'm usually into it, even if it's a really shitty game, like Wayne's World.
Sure.
I was like, name some shitty games. J-Van.
We've had a few.
Blues Brothers.
Yeah,
Blues
yeah.
Brothers.
Yeah.
Blues Brothers?
Wasn't that bad.
Was there 3? Was there 2 for the
Blues
first
Brothers.
one,
Well,
and then Blues Brothers 2?
Yeah, that's
So there was 3
exactly right,
total, and they were
No, there were
mid.
2. Wait.
There were 2 for the first movie and then
Yeah.
1 for the second movie. Yeah.
I better not turn straight by the end of this podcast.
It's already happened. Yes, you've been bit by a werebro. Yeah.
It's like all of the worst parts of a dungeon crawler and none of the best parts. You don't get like equipment, you don't get like upgrades. You just get an extra skull, which is more health.
I was gonna say that,
and that seemed to be about it.
That's
Well,
a
I
big.
think-
Oh yeah, go ahead.
So the biggest problem for me with this game isn't that it's awful, because I don't like it. It's the fact that it doesn't capture the spirit of the Addams Family.
No.
Even the terrible game that we played last week attempted to capture the spirit of the Addams Family.
Wait, you just called it a terrible game.
The NES
Well, it was-
version.
The
yeah.
NES game was terrible. Remember we played 2 games last
I
week?
repressed that memory.
But like, so we played the SNES game, the Super Nintendo, and then we played the Nintendo, and like they both tried to capture the spirit of wandering around in these awesome, like, beautiful Gothic architecture, being gothy and having fun and being like really living in the world. This, like, the music actually isn't that bad.
No.
But it's just
gameplay.
doesn't. The game is a lot of. It doesn't delve into sort of that Gothic architecture that would really benefit an Addams Family game.
Right. Yeah. It was lacking some of that, and like you were saying, Justin, like. I feel like the appeal of a Zelda game for me isn't just exploring the map. It's the fact that like you start off weak and then you get cool new equipment, you get cool new weapons,
Gadgets
you get
and
noticeably
weapons
stronger as you go. In this game, you have one attack and then it stays your one attack.
Oh, but what happens when you have more health, Steve?
Well, if you have more health,
It
then
just
your little
lasts
lightning
longer.
bolt is
Oh.
slightly longer and more powerful.
Oh, so you get stronger as you go through the game.
Oh my.
You get weaker as you go through the game because you're gonna get hit by little walking.
hit, bitch.
Yes, bitch, I'm gonna get
Personal
hit.
problem.
So I think the main thing is that in many games that are similar to this, there's at least some form of variety to
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Things change. You get a weapon that now is ranged, or you get a weapon that you throw. Like, there are things that change up, and because of these, they can have boss fights that are different.
Yeah.
With much more permutations of ways you have to handle it.
Right.
Whereas this game seemed to not have much of that at all.
Your whole strategy is just shoot lightning, try not to get hit. Shoot lightning, try not to get hit.
Yeah.
You know.
It's like Dark Souls, but worse.
I don't know. I don't think this was a good game, but I feel like the criticisms y'all are giving of it are very strange. What game is not hit and avoid? Like,
But okay, but I mean, I guess what I mean is that like
One
and for
weapon,
different
one
bosses,
attack.
Like, that first boss was like plant based. That like it took us looking it up a couple of times, some of us to figure out like when the punch was coming or when a swing
Look,
was coming.
I don't think we needed that info.
but again,
And
like,
yet-
I didn't play it.
But then we saw the last boss was
didn't
spoiler
fight
alert.
that one.
Last boss is like this gargoyle thing, and then as you're fighting it, it looks honestly like the boss from Samus.
yeah, for Metroid.
And then
yeah,
it
yeah.
gets killed, and then it's smaller ones, and the smaller ones split. So like it's this circle pattern.
That wasn't interesting.
Like, and they have different type of enemies.
But
I think
guess
this game
the thing is, like, since this game is so insistent on being a Zelda clone, like it's really trying to capture that Zelda market. Zelda mixes things up. You have to use a different strategy for each boss. You have to use
A Zelda game is also 20 hours. I believe this game feels like it was half done when the movie came out, and they realized it's not going to make money, so they just like tied it up quickly.
Yeah.
And considering that, I think it's fair.
It was a 2-hour game, and with the general gameplay variety was pretty low. Although the bosses in some areas seem to be different.
I would get very high and listen to like an audiobook on like speakers and then just play this game. And I think it'd be fun. Like, it's not a game I'm getting into. It's obviously not about the lore. It's just a silly game to say that it's not a game I'm ever going to recommend to someone, but like the music's neat enough.
Yeah.
And like, you know, they had rain, they had lightning, like they...
Yeah, honestly, having the rain was pretty cool.
Yeah, like it was...
No, it's a nice
especially
enough
for
game
this
to
era.
look at.
Yeah.
I think
the visuals
it didn't
aren't
grab
bad.
me.
I feel like, but so many
the
games
art
from this
style
era
was
are
all right.
boring.
Yeah,
Yes.
we have to say this. We're
It was
coming
just boring.
off the back of a really good game.
Apparently.
I think it was all right, but
So much fun.
it definitely, like, this game had music and visuals, and then that was the majority of it.
I guess I appreciate that it kept itself 2 hours because
Yeah.
something like this could have been.
That's the good part.
They could have done another hour of walking, and they could have made another hour of walking back.
It could have been
There
a
was a
Roger the Rabbit situation.
Yes, where it's just randomly generating clues. So like you can either beat the game in 5 minutes or 25.
So the
years.
thing about Roger Rabbit is that all the clues are randomly. You go into buildings and it's like a motel or a hotel, and each room has like 6 different places you can search, but all of the clues are randomly placed in any of those anywhere. Okay. So it's like you just go into 14 hotels and ransack every room and hope that you get clues early. And if you don't, then
Just restart the game.
you do
Yeah.
what we did, where you play the game for about 30 minutes and get no clues.
Yeah, it's wildly frustrating. At least this game is more
And then
consistent.
we watched a walkthrough of it, and the first thing they search has a clue, and we're like, "You motherfucker!
Yeah.
How dare you?
How
we did
dare.
30 minutes?
Let it go, Justin. We don't ever have to go back there.
It's dead. It's dead.
It's dead.
It got run
buried.
over and taken by weasels. Yeah, it's dead.
It'll live forever in my brain."
So the thing I do like the tiny villain game design in this game.
Yeah.
I do love me some tiny villains.
Sure.
Especially because I always find tiny villains harder than big villains. So I do think there was a nice amount of variety in the tiny villains.
Yeah, I like the little rock monster guys that look like little Frankensteins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like they started to behave kind of similarly, but at least they were changing something.
But again, the progression, I'm going to keep harping on it, but like the level progression was just so rote. It's just go to this dungeon, beat a boss, get a key. Use the key to unlock the door. Now do it again. You're not growing, you're not developing new skills.
You're
just
opening
doing
a
the same
door,
thing over and
you're
over
getting
again.
a key, you're opening a door, you're taking an item from inside, and then you're just giving that item to someone else so they let you through. Which is true. Which is true.
That's what boring games
but
are.
no,
That's what
all
boring
of that
games
is
are.
workable if there's atmosphere and charm.
That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. This
Yeah.
is my opinion. I hate Witcher 3. It is so boring. And when I watch other people play it, it looks like just the retrieving quest.
You should play Baldur's Gate 3.
Sure. But I just like...
I don't think you would enjoy it.
You don't know me, Justin.
I don't.
I said I'm
There's a
pro
lot
gamer.
of gayness
enjoy it.
in Baldur's Gate.
There
3.
is a lot of
No,
gayness in
I have a lot
Baldur's
of friends
Gate.
that play Baldur's Gate 3, but they're all
Yeah.
pervert friends. I don't
Oh, yeah.
I don't know many gamers that...
Yeah.
They're all pervert friends.
Thanks, Justin.
They're all fucking a bear. Yeah. Anyway, let's move on. I think. Do we have any final thoughts on the game here before we wrap up?
I mean,
Needs more cowbell.
Needs more cowbell. Always. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, let's move on to our ranking part of the episode. This is where we decide if this is a good movie, good game, a bad movie, bad game, or some permutation in between. I am going to start us off by saying that it is a great movie, pretty boring game. I think, I've cited my evidence. I stand by my point. J-Ben, how about you?
I think this is a very good movie and a fair game.
All right. You're more generous with it than I was. Yeah.
I think it was a good movie, and I think the game, I'll say it was a bad game, but it was not in the realm of bad games that we have normally played.
No.
It's kind of like, it's the one that's kind of floating near the top of just like, I think it's worse than meh.
Yeah.
And so it ends up there.
Okay. Yeah. So like a soft one.
When I say fair, I also want to emphasize that this game is boring. But it's functional, which is not always guaranteed.
That's true.
It's a fairly boring piece of shit.
There you go.
Yeah.
Where do you come down, Hayato? It should also be noted, Hayato was better at this game than all three of us. So like you made most of the progress that we made was from you. So.
Well, I mean, yeah. So that's the thing is like it feels like a playable game. I think I probably would have gotten maybe an hour and a half in before I'm like, this is too difficult and or too boring.
Yeah.
But at that point, I think I would have been like close to 2/3 of the game. So, like playable, like it's it's not gonna be rewarding play, but if you want to play it for some reason, it's doable. It won't be the worst game you play on whatever conquest you're trying to do to play these terrible old boring games you might find yourself doing.
Yeah, whatever tilting at windmills you might be doing, hosting podcasts that force you to play these games.
Yeah, whatever archive you're going through of old games that you play, this one will be a playable one.
Yeah, definitely not the worst.
But yeah, exceptional movie, great.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, like top 10, easily a top 5 one to like recommend to people. It's wholesome, it's dirty, it's
wholesome and dirty.
It's somehow,
It is. It's wholesome and dirty.
It walks that line. Yeah, I think that's a perfect
lots of holes in
description.
it.
Well, that concludes our mini-series on the Addams Family live action films. Now, I'm going to do a caveat here and also kind of exercise my executive power. There is a game based on the more recent Addams Family animated film from 2018, but I've decided to shunt that one off because next week is the beginning of October. And I get real nerdy around October, and I want to play a bunch of horror movie games and watch a bunch of horror movies. So that is what we're going to be doing for the entire month of October. And we are starting next week with a movie that I think is near and dear to our hearts, or at least very near and dear to where our hearts currently reside, because we are playing the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's the 1975 film, and then there is 2 games that we'll talk about, one of which came out for the Atari 2600.
And one of which just came out.
The other of which just came out for the PS5, and we'll be talking about both of those. So very excited about that one. Yeah.
This is,
And then buckle in for a month of spookies. It's going to be a good time.
I've seen a lot of the staple horror movies at this point. It's a recent thing for me the last couple of years, but this is one that we never did.
You haven't seen this one
you
yet?
haven't seen it.
Okay. Oh, no. Amazing. Yeah, you're gonna have you're gonna have a time with this one.
I think that one of the more modern ones I saw like a snippet of channel surfing.
You could skip like pretty much all the sequels, but this
that's what I was getting from the part that I was watching.
Well, there's a straight up like remake one that.
Yeah, the remake one is notoriously bad.
There's like 3 remakes. They've rebooted it like so many times.
Matthew McConaughey.
No, there wasn't anyone famous in the one that I saw.
Yeah,
there was I think a pretty recent one that felt.
There was a new Netflix one that came out like last year.
Maybe
That was bad. Yeah.
Bad?
Yeah.
Okay. I just remember it being like surprising. I also watched the first one and was just like, why is this a big deal?
Hey.
They just honestly look like the unluckiest teenagers ever. I wasn't so much scared. It's just like, damn.
We will get into it next week of why it's such a big deal.
And I think the big thing with a lot of these older horror movies is that it's the same thing that we think about that we don't think about with other things is we are seeing the modern horror movies now and then going back and watching these and going, oh, I don't get it. But these were the first ones.
No, it's not just the first one. It's like horror from the dawn of time, from ancient Greece, is about having terrible luck, like having bad fortuna. Like the thing about Texas Chainsaw Massacre is like it is terrible luck, and sometimes you're just fucked.
Yeah,
you're just proper fucked because you walk down the wrong road, and that's the way life is.
That's the way J-Ban lives her life. You walk down the wrong street, J-Ban's gonna kick your ass.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. All right. Well, we will see you all next week. Hayato, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah,
I really appreciate it. Do you have anything you'd like to plug or let anybody know about?
No.
All right. Well, either way, I'm going to plug that Hayato is a great guy, and we're happy that you were able to come on and talk about this movie with us. So thank you for joining us. All right, y'all. We will see you next week for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Vroom, vroom.